It's Amy, your Gray Girlfriend, and welcome to the Gray Girlfriend's Guide to Life podcast. First, let me say that I'm so happy and grateful that you're here with me. Out of the more than 3 million podcasts available, you chose this one, so thank you. This podcast was created for high-achieving women, real women who face and conquer real challenges, real women who are ready to take their lives to the next level. Between us all, we've been through it all, and I'm here to tell you, you can thrive despite it. So whether you're commuting to or from work or doing one of the other 50,000 things you do on a weekly basis, pop in your earbuds, my friend, and let's go. Today's episode is Bless the Villain. Every story has a great villain. Sometimes the villain is obvious. That cackling nemesis, the jealous rival, the boss who seems to have it out for you. Other times the villain is subtle. It may be a toxic habit, a limiting belief, or even our own fear. Instead of cursing our adversaries, what if we flip the script on how we view them? What if we saw them not as obstacles, but as designers of our own growth, as architects of our personal transformations? What if instead of cursing our villains, we actually bless them? What if we saw every adversary, setback, and critic as a secret ally, pushing us to become more than we ever thought possible? What if we consciously use the act of blessing our villains as a strategy for building resilience and creativity and lasting success? I mean, wow, what a new and empowering way to think, right? So let's first look at villains and why we need them, and then look at some practical tools we can use to turn our greatest adversities into our greatest advantages. Every shero and hero has a journey, and every shero and hero's journey includes a challenge. Think about it. Without the challenge, there would be no epic tale to tell. For example, without Goliath, David would have remained a shepherd boy instead of being crowned a king. Without that evil he who must not be named, Harry Potter would have remained the whipping boy of Hogwarts bullies and would have never discovered his courage. Without Smough the dragon, little Bilbo Baggins would have likely lived and died after a long, uneventful life in the Shire. If viewed through a constructive lens, adversity can be the crucible in which character is forged. Our villains, whether they be people, circumstances, habits, or internal struggles, demand that we level up. They force us out of our comfort zones into the arena of real change. If we can adopt the perspective that villains act as a hidden mirror, that mirror would reflect the parts of ourselves we most need to confront. For example, maybe you have an overbearing mother-in-law who repeatedly asks personal questions on topics that truly aren't her business. Maybe this overbearing mother-in-law reflects your weak boundaries, because we truly can't be emotionally healthy without solid boundaries. Maybe there's a competitor who's eating your lunch every quarter despite your having a superior product. Maybe that competitor reflects your lack of effective messaging or targeting or follow-up procedures. Maybe you have a svelte, exercise-loving friend who never gains an ounce, but hosts Fried Chicken Friday on the first Friday each month. Maybe she reflects your lack of consistent healthy choices when it comes to diet and exercise. By recognizing our villains as mirrors, we gain the opportunity to see our blind spots. Blessing the villain, then, is not about excusing the villain's behavior, but about embracing the growth they provoke in us. We can use the practice of blessing the villain as a neurohack because there is science behind this concept. According to neuroscience, adversity literally rewires the brain. When we face challenges, our neural pathways adapt, making us more resilient and more creative and more resourceful. But there is a catch. If we only curse the villains, we miss the lesson. The pain becomes a source of ongoing suffering, not progress. But by blessing the villain, you can flip the script in 3 steps. First, you can flip it by acknowledging the lesson. Every adversary shines a light on a weakness or a blind spot in us. So you can consciously say, "Thank you, mother-in-law, for showing me I need better boundaries." Or, Thank you, Mr. Competitor, for showing me that I need to level up my marketing strategy. Or thank you, my svelte friend, for showing me that if I too commit to consistently fueling my body with nutritious food and moving it in ways that build strength and flexibility, then I too can enjoy Fried Chicken Friday on the first Friday each month without guilt or shame or needing to wear elastic waist pants. After we acknowledge the lesson, we absorb their energy. We use the challenge as fuel to improve our skills or our mindset or our strategy. In the case of the overbearing mother in law, you choose to deal with the emotional shit that makes you believe you shouldn't have or couldn't have strong boundaries with everyone in your life. Or in the case of the competitor with the inferior product who's kicking your butt, you deal with the limiting belief that makes you think that you can't be the leader in your industry. Or in the case of your fried chicken eating svelte friend, you deal with the underlying belief that drives you to consistently make unhealthy choices instead of making the occasionally unhealthy one. Then, after you acknowledge the lesson, you absorb their energy, you thank the struggle because gratitude transforms pain into power and bitterness into breakthrough. For the sake of clarity, this is not about letting people walk all over you. It's about reclaiming your agency, reclaiming your power, and turning every attack into an opportunity for self improvement. This is about you realizing you have a choice and then choosing to be a victor instead of a victim. There's real power in reframing, my friend. When you see your villains as your trainers, you take back your power. And again, for the sake of clarity, a villain is not necessarily a person, but a situation that challenges you. Just as a tough coach or professor, or even recovering from a serious illness pushes you to your limits, your adversaries force you to discover strengths you never knew you had. In my case, two of my toughest professors in graduate school taught me so much, and I love them to this day. So shout outs to you, Doctors Margaret Capon and Judith Hunt of East Carolina University's College of Business. Both of these wonderful, challenging, kind-hearted, tough-minded professors honed my critical thinking skills, skills that continue to serve me well to this day, almost 35 years later. Blessing your villain is not some fly-by-night idea. There is psychology behind it. First, blessing your villain breaks the cycle of victimhood. It is the antidote to victimhood. When we focus solely on how we've been wronged, we give away our power. And because we believe the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, we become passive characters in our own stories, in our own lives, waiting for someone to rescue us or waiting for the opportunity to take revenge. But by turning the tables, by blessing the villain, by flipping the script, you take back your power, you take back control, and you write your own story instead of being a character in someone else's story. Second, blessing the villain also builds emotional resistance, creating the ability to bounce back from setbacks. It's like building muscle by lifting weights. It teaches us to manage the pain constructively, to forgive without forgetting, to let go and move forward without baggage. This resilience is not just about surviving adversity, it's about thriving, not despite the adversity, but because of the adversity. When you bless your villain, you turn your wounds into wisdom and your scars into stories of strength. The idea of blessing your enemies isn't new. Spiritual traditions across the world teach the power of forgiveness and blessing. In Christianity, for example, Jesus commands us, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. In Buddhism, loving kindness is extended even to those who harm us. But I'm not talking about blessing your villain as passive acceptance. This concept is about using the act of blessing as active transformation. It's about using every adversity as raw material for personal and spiritual growth and development. When you bless your villain, you release bitterness and you invite freedom. Holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But blessing your villain is the antidote. It releases you from the emotional chains of bitterness and opens doors to peace. You don't bless the villain for the sake of the villain. You bless the villain for your sake so you can move forward in peace and strength. By blessing the villain, you break the shackles of victimhood and you set yourself free. You empower yourself to move forward. Here's a case in point. I recently had lunch with a dear friend who has worked with the same firm for 20 years. About a year ago, the firm restructured, and while my friend's position didn't change, her old manager was replaced by a much younger, less experienced manager. This new manager doesn't fully utilize my friend's skill set. He does most of the work that she's accustomed to doing. And he does so much of the work that she's accustomed to doing that she finds herself with lots of free time on her hands. And because she has such a strong work ethic, she doesn't like this situation. She doesn't like that he's not allowing her to do her job. My friend loves her job, but she's grown increasingly frustrated with the situation, and she's decided to retire at the end of the year. She's had this side hustle for the past few years, and she had planned on turning her side hustle into a full-time venture upon retirement. During lunch, she shared her frustration with the whole situation. And after hearing the details, I pointed out to her that from my perspective, this situation, this villain, is actually an incredible gift that pays twofold. First, because her new manager has essentially cut her workload in half, she is doing half the work for the same pay. Second, because she has done her job for so long and with such proficiency, she can pretty much do her job in her sleep, which now allows her to put more creative energy into launching her new venture. As we were talking, my friend instantly saw the situation from this new perspective and her eyes lit up. We started laughing and high-fiving and celebrating her good fortune. Now, granted, it was midday, so I clinked my glass of Diet Pepsi and she clinked her glass of club soda, but we celebrated nonetheless. I mean, oh, what a difference blessing your villain can make. So how does blessing the villain bless you? Well, first, it strengthens your character. When you bless the villain, you choose growth over grievance. You develop grit and patience and emotional intelligence, and these are the real markers of maturity. Second, it breaks the cycle of hurt and revenge. Blessing your villain interrupts the cycle of retaliation. Instead of escalating conflict, you disarm hostility and create space for reconciliation if reconciliation is not only what you want, but is also a real possibility. This not only has the capacity to heal relationships, but also sets a new standard of how you handle adversity. Third, it unlocks creative solutions. Adversity triggers innovation. When you bless your villain, you're more likely to seek new strategies and build new alliances and take bold action. The villain becomes the catalyst for your next breakthrough. Fourth, it fuels lasting motivation. Nothing motivates us like a worthy adversary. By blessing your villain, you harness their opposition as energy to pursue your goals with greater intensity and focus. Fifth, it cultivates empathy and compassion. Blessing your villain requires you to see the world through their eyes. And while you don't like their behavior or condone their behavior or make excuses for their behavior, blessing your villain builds empathy and compassion and a deeper understanding of human nature. And that, my friend, makes you not only a stronger leader, but a wiser one. So, do you need some practical steps? Here are 5 solid steps you can take. Step 1, name your villain. Identify the person, the situation, habit, or mindset that's holding you back. Get really specific. Is it an overbearing family member? Is it a critical boss, a jealous friend, your own procrastination? Step 2, find the lesson. Ask yourself, what is this challenge teaching me about myself? Is it revealing a weakness, a fear, an area of growth? Step 3, bless the villain. Don't curse it. Consciously thank your villain for the growth they're forcing. This may feel unnatural at first, but it's a powerful way to reclaim your agency. And as with all new skills, it gets easier with practice. Step 4, absorb, don't avoid. Use the adversity as fuel for your next move. Don't run from the challenge, lean into it instead. Let it sharpen your skills and strengthen your resolve. And then step 5, rewrite your story. See yourself as the Shiro forged by fire, not the victim of circumstance. See every villain as a chapter in your story of triumph. Bless your villain, my friend, and be the Shiro of your own life. Wishing you peace and plenty of triumphant chapters. Until next time, this is Amy, your gray girlfriend. Hey, it's Amy. Did you know that what we tell ourselves about ourselves impacts every decision we make? Every decision. So if you're feeling stuck in any aspect of your life, RTT can help. Want to know more? Go to amyblairlawson.com or click on the calendar link in the show notes to schedule your complimentary 30-minute consultation. Oh, one last thing. I can't forget the legal stuff. You know what I'm talking about. The language a lawyers write that I have to read to you. Well, here it goes. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While I am a rapid transformational therapy practitioner, a certified divorce financial analyst, and a licensed investment advisor, this podcast is not intended as a substitute for a private session or a consultation. Got it? All right. Until next time, wishing you peace and plenty of all good things.